What's up, heathens? How ya doing? Today on the show, I have a guest stopping by. Yes, we have Paulogia on the channel today. We're gonna start our descent into madness with Ken Ham's book, Dinosaurs of Eden. If you guys don't know about this book, it's a book that Ken Ham wrote for small children to teach them about how dinosaurs lived in the Garden of Eden. And boy, does it piss on a lot of science today. So, if you want to see exactly how bad Ken Ham's theology is, then please stay tuned. Today we're going to be going over a Ken Ham book called Dinosaurs of Eden, and I've got my friend Paul here from the Paulogia channel.
Yo, everyone.
We're going to be going over it together. I got Paul here because he loves Ken Ham with the passion of 1,000 Hades. And so I figured it would be good to go over this book with you. Now, I do have to stipulate, I have tried to go through this book once before, back when I was very new to like making videos, and I was taking a very non-serious go at it, which, not to say I'm not going to be serious about it today, but I mean, I've already tried this once, so hopefully Paul can keep me in the right here, because you know how I love to know things.
Oh man, I was hoping to be the misbehavior today, but okay. All right, if I have to be the designated book driver, that's fine.
Well, no. I kind of figured you might keep it on a little bit of a serious note. But if you wanna be just as foolish as I am, because like I'm gonna throw voices in here. Like I figured you you could be the guy character that's in this book, and I could be the girl character.
Good. All right, and I can say fuck on your channel, so that's my favorite.
Okay. All right. So now what we're looking at now is the Dinosaurs of Eden cover, and of course it's it's written by Ken Ham but illustrated by those couple of people. I don't know. What do you got to say about this cover there, Paul?
Well, a couple things. I mean, first of all, this came out in 2001, and for some reason, this looks like it came out in 1974. This looks exactly like all of the National Geographic dinosaur/space books of the 70s. I don't know if you. My library was terrible when I went to school, so we had 20-year-old books. But it was. I don't know why Ken made it look like that. This does not look like 2003. But then also, you totally get the Stargate vibe. Like I can imagine how kids would get excited. There's, oh look, there's a exciting portal. I'm just kind of angry.
Oh, no, yeah, I totally made that connection when I first saw it. I was like, is this fucking Stargate at this point? Like, what are we doing? All right, so, and then here we've got the Alpha console. So, honestly, I feel like the dinosaur there in the picture is being all like, bitch!
But also, of course, because when you think Old Testament, this is the image that comes to your head. The very first thing you think of. And actually, this looks like a puppet dinosaur.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? But I love how he's got like the space suit on, and he's like all ready, like to be beamed up into whatever the fuck is about to happen. Like he is suited up.
And of course, some people made fun of Back to the Future, like where they talked about, we're going to go back to Christmas Day, and he put it in like year zero. This doesn't even have that. This doesn't even, just Old Testament. That's my computer knows where to go.
Well, right, and I love how like it's all nondescript buttons, and it's like the guy's just pushing a button as if like, oh, well, here's the flux capacitor button.
Well, obviously it's written for 5-year-olds because that's where you put your block shapes. I put my yellow block shape in. Yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, you could look at the seriousness on this guy's face here. I mean, it's like you ever seen that movie called Inner Space?
Yes. Yeah, where Dennis Quaid? Yeah, they were.
Yeah, Dennis Quaid.
One of them. They inject him inside a body. Yeah, that was a trippy movie.
Yeah, I feel like he's got the face on this guy right now is like, I'm about to probe this anus, like kind of vibe going on there.
This chick is awesome. Her attitude looks great. She's just in this for she's in this for an adventure.
Yeah, which I'm kind of curious. Like, it looks like they're putting on VR glasses, but at the same time they're going through a magical portal. Like when they go through the magical portal, like, is there going to be wind, and so they have to protect their eyes, and then the magical portal bugs will just get into their mouths.
Well, that was actually I have so many questions about the time travel in this movie, in this little book, because they clearly, it's very ambiguous as to whether they're actually there or if they've just like projected themselves there, like Luke Skywalker or something. The time travel really needs to be buttoned up here, and we'll get into it when the pages come. What does BTG stand for?
Bible Time Gate.
Oh, Bible Time Gate. Perfect. And are these brother and sister? How old are they supposed to be?
They look about 12 or so, like preteen kind of. I don't know. I do like how she's plugging her shit in, and she's just like, "Come on, quit being a pussy."
That's exactly right.
All right,
we're going on an adventure, dude. Yeah. Anyway, off they go.
All right, so here, this particular part is about the kind of like the forward, I guess, and they dox themselves in the middle of it. But the thing that I'm really wanting to highlight here is how much of a fucking ape Ken Ham looks like.
I love the nickname Amish Wolverine for him.
Amish Wolverine. Jebediah Bub.
Yeah, when he puts up those slides about was your grandmother an ape, and he puts his own picture up against an ape, I always think that the kids should be convinced that makes evolution true, because he's not the model you'd use.
No, he really isn't. I mean, like, if you're wanting to argue against evolution, looking like Ken Ham is not the way to go about it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
See. Okay, so this is the other side of the gate. Of course, you see how it's supposed to be Bible Time Gate. And one thing I want to ask here, why the satellite dish?
They're obviously kidding. This is 2003. Where are they getting? What kind of data is coming in? They're not even getting HBO at that point. Satellite. Oh, man.
Well, I mean, like, do they have to like perfectly align up with the bullshit in the Bible in order to teleport to the dinosaur times?
Maybe that gives them a satellite phone while they're out there. That's the only thing I can think of the satellite uses. But also, this computer is set to the New Testament. They have two. These people are going to get ripped apart and thrown into different times.
Oh yeah, I can't wait for the New Testament version of this, which I don't think he actually put out a sequel to this book. Thank the fuck God.
We understand that Ken believes that there were still dinosaurs around in the New Testament, so that's very possible, because you'll see he still thinks that dragons and / dinosaurs were around in like medieval times. So obviously that picture of Jesus riding into Jerusalem on a raptor, he thinks that's plausible.
I would not be able to contain my shit if I was in the audience and Ken Ham brings up that particular meme and is like, "See this? This isn't funny. This actually happened. It could have happened at least. Jesus loved velociraptors." Okay, so now on this page, I mean, basically the gist of it is Ken Ham laments over the fact that we don't have like a Stargate kind of time machine with the satellite dish on top to get to the past, but we have the next best thing. Paul, can you guess what the next best thing is?
I'm going to correct you. It is not the next best thing. It's actually a better thing. He says right here, we have even better. We have the Bible, because we have someone who was there, who wrote it down. And that's better than a time machine.
Well, yeah, which actually I know that I'm going to disagree a lot with Ken here, but God didn't write the Bible. The first 5 books of the Bible are actually supposed to be penned by Moses, but even then Moses wasn't an actual person in history, so it's legit like anonymous authors that penned all this shit down. It was not God. But
I'm actually just sad for Ken's imagination life, because he starts this thing. If you told anyone, "Hey, you're given a time machine, what's the first thing you want to do?" Ken's first thing he wants to do is Solomon's Temple. Like, what the hell? That is the most boring first idea for a time machine ever. And then even then he goes to like the Garden of Eden and Noah's Ark. Those were better answers. And I'm actually kind of hoping that we would, go back to before day one. I wonder what's going to happen if we're if we time travel back before the Big Bang, that would be fun. When time doesn't exist.
Yeah, I would think that there are so many other different points in even biblical history that would be interesting. Like, I don't know, like not Solomon's temple, but like Moses parting the Red Sea. Like that would be some interesting shit to see if I had like a hillbilly time gate.
Absolutely. At some point here, he also talks about how the Bible is better than a time machine because God picked out the important parts, so we don't have to know about all the stuff. We can just know what the important parts are. So unfortunately, if you live in China or if you live in Alpha Centauri, your history is not important.
Why would it be important? It's not in the Bible.
Yeah.
But down at the bottom he says you are going on a journey through the Bible time. Well, you got to read it correctly, okay? You're going on a journey through the Bible time gate.
Cue Dr. Hugh music.
Yeah.
That's where the opening theme comes in with that's hardest.
Yeah, I think I actually used the Dr. Hugh sound effect in my first video. Maybe I can cut that in right here somewhere.
I think we fucking have.
All right, so now the girl and the guy are gonna fall through the Bible time gate, which this doesn't even match Stargate kind of imagery here, because on the Stargate you just see the event horizon, you can't see what's on the other side. But here, Ken Ham's like, oh, well, it's just sort of like a waterfall, and you can see right through it. So obviously we're gonna see a T-Rex looking in here, like, what the fuck is this shit?
Also, why not, they've had all this time, why not wait 10 minutes till that T-Rex leaves? Why would you possibly... There's the giant dinosaur that, as far as we know, we don't know what point in time this is, whether it's pre-fall, post-fall. This thing, I know sometimes pre-fall it eats watermelons, but afterwards it definitely eats kids. So, hey guys, wait 5 minutes. They need parental supervision.
Well, hey, I'm actually noticing the console on the left there. It has like a picture of like a T-Rex. I'm guessing that it's the same thing that's right outside the gate. So I'm kind of curious. Like, I know on Stargate they sent through probes so that they could see that. Do you think they sent a probe through first before they put on their VR goggles and went through?
I think everyone in Ezra's Genesis know that all forms of probing are sinful.
Yes, all forms of probing are fucking sinful.
So definitely not. They would definitely not be doing any probing. So of course the first thing Ken has to do, the kids come through the gate, they see some dinosaurs frolicking around. So this is presumably Garden of Eden times because they're all getting along. But of course the first thing Ken has to do is try and put down any science these kids may have learned. So just in case their parents were terrible people and told them the dinosaurs lived millions of years ago, he has to try and debunk that. With Bible verses, of course. Something from the New Testament.
Yeah. Well, basically, yeah, the Bible memory verse there is just basically saying that all scripture is made to be used for like instruction and for reproof, correction, and for instruction in righteousness. But I don't know how that in particular applies here. I guess maybe like it's meant like he's trying to apply that kind of thinking to like everything we know in reality, including dinosaurs.
Absolutely. And the other thing that he's doing on this page is trying to align himself, as much as he's saying that science is crap. On the very same page, he's adopting the names of the dinosaurs and the names of general, science terms from Linnaean taxonomy and like from the scientific terms for these things and even how to pronounce them. It's a very mixed message thrown to the kids. We're using the science terms. We're trying to grab science when it's convenient, but when it's not, Bible.
Yep. I mean, the Bible trumps all. So, if the Bible says that T-Rexes didn't exist, well, then T-Rexes didn't exist. We got to figure out another fucking name for these things.
These are obviously not the names that Adam gave these things.
Yeah. True. Like, I wonder, what do you think Adam would name like these things? Like, oh, this one's fucking ugly. We'll call this one the Fuglysaurus, and then this one right here is even fugglier.
I always thought I don't know. I don't know how many days he spent. Somehow it was all in one afternoon, but he obviously named all the kinds. I always thought it would be like spiky, pointy. I don't know how this language was, but yeah, greeny.
But yeah, I don't understand how he can mix like these scientifically derived names with like, oh, this is what Adam would have named him. Because don't you think that he might have tried to guess like what Adam would have named him, not just, oh hey look, there's a orange stripy one, and that one. I mean, I don't know what the fuck he's doing to that spiky one, but it looks sinful.
Even worse than that, if you read Genesis 2 in its proper context, when God brings each animal before him, he's looking for a suitable helper, right? And we know from later context that suitable helper means someone to have sex with. Yeah. So really what God is doing is like, do you want to fuck this one? No. Do you want to fuck this one? No.
You know, actually, Casey and I were talking about that today. I think it was either today or yesterday. It's like, nope. Actually, Adam was a goat fucker. He was trying to fuck every one of them to see which one would produce offspring, and then God was like, "Fuck it, I'll just make my own."
Right. So really, the whole giving the name thing was really just some awkward foreplay.
Well, we all know how God likes to rename things he fucks in the ass.
But God also knows. God must have been a real asshole here, because he's presenting animals to Adam that he knows he's going to kill in the flood in a few thousand years. So why even bother?
Yeah, I have no idea why, but it seems like a fruitless kind of thing. It also kind of implies that God doesn't know that Adam and Eve are going to totally disappoint him here in just a little bit.
Well, I think we all know our kids are going to disappoint us, and we still go through with it.
Okay, so basically, in this particular page, Ken Ham is talking about going into the Bible and trying to figure out like how this universe was created and everything. And so basically it goes back to Genesis 1:1, saying in the beginning God created heaven and the earth, and he explains how that one sentence proves that God created time, the beginning, space, heaven, matter, the earth, and that's the beginning of the universe, furthering his own ideology that, you know, the Bible is legit, you know, from Genesis 1:1 to Revelation what the fuck ever. But as we know, I mean, that's not the case, and just because it's written in a book, that doesn't mean that it's actually the thing that happened in history.
And he disappointed me, Ken, because you're talking about the beginning of the universe. That should have been day one. Why didn't the kids travel to day one when the earth was formless and void? This is clearly day 6. So come on, let's get the whole picture here.
Yeah, it would have been nice there, Ken. Transport us to before God was doing any kind of shit.
Yeah, I want to see the spirit above the waters. Come on.
Yeah, and where was the waters exactly? Like, was there land that he's on, and then he creates more land somewhere? Like, I don't know. There's a lot of questions, but he's actually about to go into that a little bit more.
All right. Depth. Well, let me complain. I'm going to pre-complain. I'm going to complain a lot later. Ken Ham clearly didn't have his whole Ark Encounter idea of kinds solidly in his head when he wrote this book, because these are not kinds. So the two two dinosaurs on this page, T-Rex and Triceratops, are the very end. Like, these are the very last animals. They appear in the Jurassic period. These were very, very late. So these obviously were not the created kinds. God, even in Ken Ham's theology or his science or whatever you call his biology, these animals wouldn't have been in the Garden of Eden, just the proto-Triceratops, which I'll get into later. So it's funny to see how his mind has changed over time.
Well, I don't know. I think he might try to circumvent that with something here in a little bit, but we'll go into that in a second.
Sounds good. Well, this is basically, he does a very quick overview of the days of creation. Day 1, time and space. Day 2, the earth, essentially. Well, splitting this. He deliberately doesn't want to go into the firmament, which I don't blame him. Day 3, land. Day 4, the sun and the moon and the stars, which is fun because it took a long, long time to create the sun, and then like all the billions of stars were an afterthought. That just happened super quick. The land. Anyway, he just goes through it all. But the main part of what here is he actually wants to throw every Christian under the bus who accepts old Earth or an old universe or any version that isn't his specific Ken Hamism version of literal day creation. So for some reason, these little kids that are reading this, he goes into a Hebrew lesson on Yom, the word Yom, and the big debate about whether the word Yom can mean a literal day, or what does it mean? Can it mean long periods of time? And people like Hugh Ross and the Biologos ministry definitely demonstrate where There's other portions in the Bible where the Hebrew word yom means long periods of time, but Ken just can't miss an opportunity to say, not only are the secularists lying to you, but a lot of Christians are lying to you too. He's just such an isolationist.
Yeah, I have to say that his logic here in this second paragraph just doesn't make sense to me at all, because he's talking about how they were literal 24-hour days, but like we know from science that days were a lot shorter, like in the early history of the Earth. Like we have scientific data that shows that, and so like him saying that they were literally 24-hour days before the sun was created, like that doesn't make sense to me. Nor does all of the scientific evidence that we have to show that, you know, the Earth was spinning faster at one point in its early history, and so they were actually shorter days. So I don't understand how we can throw all of that science out of it, but yet also try to adopt a lot of science.
This argument always just spins my head around because I agree with both sides on half of their argument. I agree with Ken that the natural reading of this is 24-hour days, but I also agree with everyone else that says, well, if it's 24-hour days, then the Bible is crap. So I kind of agree with both of those things.
Yeah, it's a weird predicament. Like then you're forced to explain the nuance of it. Like, yeah, that's what it says, but that's not what happened.
Right, exactly.
Thank you, heathens, for making it to the end. If you will, go down below and leave me your comment with the biggest mistake that you saw in this book. Maybe it's something we left out, or maybe it was something that we mentioned. Go down below in the comments section and leave your thoughts. While you're down there, be sure to check out the description and subscribe to Paulogia. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe if you like this kind of book review. Don't forget to stand up and use your voice. I will see you heathens later.